grab your favorite beverage, cup of tea, cup of coffee, and settle in for this wonderful podcast episode with Maggie McCormack, where it feels like we have known each other for a long time and we only just met. It's a delicious conversation. Feels like a date with a good girlfriend. We laugh a lot and we get into some really good conversations. So without any delay, we'll launch into the podcast. Welcome to Miles to Zen, where we explore personal growth, mindfulness, and transformation. And today I'm thrilled to introduce Maggie, a passionate life coach, mentor, facilitator, dedicated to helping others live with authenticity, joy, and purpose. Maggie has spent over 20 years running a successful podiatry clinic, mastering leadership and empathy while also pursuing acting and writing in theater, film, and TV, and writing and performing her one-woman show and co-writing and co-producing a web series, deepening her understanding of the human experience through storytelling. She's also the creator of a popular YouTube channel and a podcast called Inspired in 5, where she shares powerful insights on self-mastery, healing, and personal transformation. Her journey in spirituality and personal development spans 25 years, leading her to coaching, mentorship, and deep inner work with a focus on self-esteem and personal growth. I am so excited to dive into her unique journey and wisdom today. Maggie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. That sounds amazing when you say all that at once.
Oh, I know.
Nice to be with you.
And I gotta say, you are just so lovable on all the videos that I've seen. And if I was in Australia, I'd be wanting to be your bestie. And I'm wondering, and I'm wondering if you've experienced this, all of a sudden people coming out of the woodwork really wanting to spend time with you because you're just so darn lovable and you share so much amazing stuff on your podcast and your YouTube channel.
First of all, thank you so much. That is so lovely. The comments have been really lovely. Like, people have been really kind. And I have had a lot of people reach out like yourself for interviews, which was like completely amazing to me out of the blue. And which I actually found quite scary. So I was kind of like avoiding them, but now I'm facing my fears and doing it anyway. But yeah, I've had some really lovely, lovely feedback, which is, yeah, it's just delightful. Like, getting feedback on how other people view you, how you're coming across, and it's just from people all around the world that are just like people you would never ordinarily meet, and cultures that you wouldn't be normally visiting. And yeah, it's very humbling.
Yeah, it's cool, right? Because here I am in Vancouver, Canada, and are you in Melbourne? Where are you?
Yeah,
In
Melbourne,
Melbourne,
Australia.
Australia. And isn't that neat that here we
Yeah.
are connected and from a YouTube video that my husband watched, and he's like, "Oh, you've got to watch this woman's videos. They're so great." Of course,
Oh,
I send him videos to watch all the time. He's like never watching those, but I am glad he found yours.
I totally get that. I send my partner Instagram reels all the time. He doesn't always watch them.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of my Instagram reels to my husband are all about health.
Yeah. Mine are about cats.
Oh, well, there's the odd Highland cow and donkey thrown in there for sure. And the odd dog, because in my future life, I think that there's a donkey, a miniature Highland cow, and hopefully a dog. I've got 2 cats. I expect them to join anytime. That's what they like to do. So,
We have we live on a property. We don't have our own animals, but we have wild deer running around. So
oh,
that's all.
nice. Oh, that's
Yeah. Wombat.
beautiful. So, why don't you tell me? I saw that in 2018, you had some experience that then inspired this commitment to personal growth. Can you tell us what happened in 2018 that really moved you quicker in this direction?
That was my I believe you might be talking about my trip to Sedona.
I'm not sure. I just read about this
Oh,
2018 experience.
oh,
And maybe it was a trip to Sedona. That sounds amazing. I want to do
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I had an amazing trip to Sedona. I just cannot wait to go back. Actually, I think that was 2017, but I went on a spiritual retreat and it really, like, I always had a love of nature, but something about being in Sedona just opened it wide up. And now I'm really got this big love affair with nature. I actually think it was 2018 I met my partner. And
Okay.
yeah, I think that's what it might be referring to. And because, yeah, he's very much on the spiritual path. And I always have been, but it was just, it's such a deeper way. He introduced me to some teachers and some practices and mentors and it just took off from there. So yeah, I think that was a big kind of life-changing year for me.
Oh, neat. 2018 was a big year for me too. I like to say that's when I had my breakdown slash spiritual awakening. I love it when Brene Brown talks about in her book her breakdown and then she crosses it out and says spiritual awakening. And
Mm.
I was on crutches. I had to go for an operation. My cat died that morning, 6 weeks
Oh,
post-op. I'm still on crutches for something unrelated. The operation didn't really fix what it was supposed to fix. I'm staring at the ceiling. I've got no cat. And I'm feeling pretty miserable. And I'd had, stuff going on for quite a few years up to that point, anyways. And I just decided that was it. I wasn't going to be a victim any longer
mm.
and I was done. And so I just started reading every self-help book out there, and most of them were actually like spiritual self-help books. I started listening to Oprah's Super Soul Sunday, and then I started
Oh,
getting into all the books, and I must have read like 40 odd books within a year. And Byron Katie's book, I talk about this in another podcast. I had her book backwards on my bookshelf for 2 years because I knew that was a chunk of work that I had to do, and I did want to do it. And I
yeah,
so I just had it backwards. I'd gone through a lot of like earlier than that, maybe 2013, 2014, work with Joe Dispenza
yeah,
through his books and really loved those. And
yeah.
I've been exploring, but not to the level that happened in 2018. So I'm thinking something in the stars was going on in 2018.
Hey, that sounds like a huge awakening. And I love Byron Katie. Like I haven't read her book, but I've listened to lots of interviews and I love those the four questions and she's just extraordinary to turn her life around like that and just in a moment, I think it was a cockroach crawling over her or something that just kind of was that her?
Yeah,
I
she
think
was on the floor.
yeah,
Yeah, because that's the only place she felt she should be sleeping because she had no self-worth. And so
yeah,
she didn't feel she deserved to be sleeping in the bed. And that's
yeah,
when this, real awakening happened for her.
yeah. Yeah, I think she had a cockroach crawl over her and it just kind of it gave her awakening. It was something about the cockroach that just yeah. Yeah, she's extraordinary. I love that about the I'm not going to be a victim anymore because it's just like been this lifelong journey for me, like not being a victim. And it's hard to talk about that in the world because people are like, well, there are victims, but it's like that being victim to circumstances. Like life happens for you, not to you. And
Yeah.
it's constant. Like I don't know what it's like for you, but like I find myself falling into it and then I have to like remember and pull myself out of it. And it's like a constant remembering.
Yeah, my so Dr. Brown, who's guided me through a lot of things on my journey, and originally he was my fertility acupuncturist. He was part of this fertility clinic, and I'd gone to see him when I was pregnant for the third time, and it didn't end up working. But then my fourth pregnancy, it worked out, and I have a beautiful son who's teenager and super healthy. And so he started introducing me to some of these things. And he talked about like you're going down the road and there's these like humongous potholes. And sometimes you fall in and it'll take you years to get out.
Mm.
And then as you grow and develop and stuff like that, you can get to the point where you may fall in and it may now only take you like a few days. And then it's only like a couple hours. Then it might be a few minutes. Then you can avoid the pothole completely.
Yeah.
And so like you, I don't fall into those potholes anymore for years or weeks or months. You know, I may fall in for a few hours.
Yeah.
And if I'm feeling really special, like maybe a whole day. But
Yeah. I feel you.
yeah, and I just did an interview with a real spiritual teacher, and his podcast is going to come out, I think, in a week or so. And we just talked about that. Does he still have lapses? And he's like, well, the meditation really helps bring him back into that Zen state. And
Yeah.
I don't think people like Byron Katie have lapses anymore.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Or maybe there's an awareness that there's a potential lapse coming and then they are able to respond before it happens or something.
Yeah, what
Um,
do you do? What do you do when you see that pothole in the road?
oh, yeah, it's going within, grounding, centering, aligning, and remembering I'm not my thoughts. I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts, and identifying as bigger, as my higher self, my spirit, as so that all of that within me that is feeling the self-pity or the whatever it is that I've got, it's like I get bigger than it, so I can hold it
Right.
and love it and then be grateful for it. And then it usually dissipates. But that's like a lifelong, I don't ever expect that to stop because like hopefully it won't take me out and it won't make me unconscious, but I feel like all of those, like we're just clearing through all this karma, whether it's this life, well, I believe in past lives. So whether we're clearing
Yeah.
this life or another life, it's all coming through this vehicle of our
Yeah.
body. So that's why you can be like, oh, but I thought I dealt with this. Like I thought I'd worked on this, and it can be another turn of the spiral.
Yeah.
But also it may not even be from this incarnation that's coming through to be healed and loved. So that's why it's so important that we don't identify. So when it's like, oh, I feel useless, it's
Yeah.
like not thinking that we're useless, just going, oh, I've got feelings of feeling useless, and let's hold space for that and love that. And then it just passes through. The problem
Mhm.
is when we like going, oh no, I'm useless. Oh no, I've gone down the rabbit hole. Oh no, I'm like, that's it, it's all over, I'm useless. And then we believe it, and then
Yeah.
we just go on this circuitous journey until we remember, and we've wasted
Yeah.
time. But maybe it's not a waste, maybe it's what we needed, like to solidify once again, know that they're just feelings, that's not the truth.
I certainly find when I am eating well and when I'm sleeping, sleeping is the big one.
Yep.
And then I'm able to do that so much better. And I
Mm.
just watched your video on alcohol, and that one
Oh,
was so good because I've noticed now. Okay, I'm early 50s, and I've noticed over the last few years, I just can't handle the alcohol like I could. And whether, well, I don't know if I could ever handle it. I've always been a bit of a cheap drunk, except for those early years in Paris when I worked at a very French locals bar and could drink any man under the table. And I don't think those were my proudest moments.
yeah.
Certainly got me into some trouble. But now I find alcohol really affects me. And I was in France visiting with a girlfriend this summer. My son and I went and spent some time there, and I was living the dream. I'm on vacation in France and was drinking way more wine than I normally would, and I was waking up and feeling bummed out. And I'm like, why am I feeling like and kind of
Yeah.
depressed and kind of sad? I am living the dream. It does not get any better than what I was doing at that moment.
Yeah.
And
It-
it was such a sharp contrast for me to be able to just observe that. And
yeah.
it was in a way just a bit of a drag, and
Yeah.
in a way very enlightening.
Yeah. It's no good. Alcohol is just no good. It really is a depressant, and it does, like, even from a body performance perspective. I wear a Whoop. I don't know if you, it's like kind of like an aura ring, but it's just a different brand. And I've been watched interviews of the Diary of a CEO because he's one of the
Yeah, yeah.
founders. Yeah, and they were talking about one standard drink completely tanks your HRV, your heart rate variability. Like it shows in your recovery. Just one standard drink.
Wow.
It's just like it's a poison, and we're just microdosing ourselves with poison. And yeah, it does. The body has to get rid of it. And yeah, emotionally. There's all the emotional
Right?
issues that come. Like, I don't miss those days at all. I remember thinking, there's no way I could never drink again. And now this will be my 15th year. I can't imagine going back to, I don't know how people deal with this, with the hangovers and just the sadness and then even the dramas that can come from it as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
And certainly not drinking does cause discomfort for others in social situations. And what
yeah,
I'm thrilled to see now is there's so many more mocktails, at least,
yeah,
that I'm seeing in Vancouver. The restaurants are actually, instead of just getting like one or two or just having the traditional pop, there's actually a variety of drinks that are showing up on menus that are actually, super delicious and fun and make you feel like special that you're
yeah,
having something. And I had something the other day at a restaurant, and the guys, I told him that I'd like those drinks, and it had the like that very sour and had that egg white stuff on the top. And he's like, I'm gonna just make you something. Well, he made me this fancy little cocktail. Oh, here we go. Keeping it real over here. I just wanted to show you how real it was. So I'm going bright red.
yeah.
And it was so delicious. It was so delicious. I never would have known in a million years that it didn't have alcohol in it. And nobody else would have known either, except for the fact that I had to make a big deal about it and tell everybody.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. And the with other people, it is so great that there's mocktails and things like that. But with other people being uncomfortable, I mean, I just don't have that anymore. Um, but it is an initial thing when if you're hanging out with people that do drink a lot, because it just kind of reflects to them, are they drinking too much, or
Yeah.
you're not now, or like, do I have to look at my problems now, or do I have a problem? And it's, but I do find that just writes itself as well. And then I don't know if it's a different energy that I hold myself, because it's at first you're like, oh, I've done this big thing, I've stopped drinking, and what are people going to think? And so I'm holding that energy. But once I've fully accepted it, and it's just like, of course I'm not drinking, that people just don't even question it. They don't even, yeah. I can't remember the last time anyone questioned me about it.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. I
Yeah,
guess you've over the years just totally changed that vibe.
yeah, yeah. I must have somewhere along the way.
Or you got brand new friends, one or the
Yeah,
other.
probably a bit of both. That's true.
Um, so have you done, I know that you've done your coaching classes. I think it was a 12-month coaching program. And then you said you went to Sedona for this spiritual class. I really would love to do something like that myself. It's on the list. Um, so what was that? And have you done any other cool things like that?
Well, yeah, that was amazing. It was just a group of 6 women, and my energy healer at the time, she had rented out a space, and we did meditations every day and went on hikes, just going deeper, I suppose. But since then, I do a lot of meditation retreats. I go on a couple a year over in
Oh,
Perth,
okay.
the other side of the country, and it's, yeah, a lot of um, deep and self-analysis and healing the karma, and um, aligning ourselves to our, highest, clearest, brightest potential, like trying to be of service in the world, like basically self-mastery. So
Right.
trying to, yeah, to work on spiritual, emotional, mental, physical mastery. I'm not so great with the physical mastery. I'm working on that. That's my next focus. I'm going to do a video on something to do with that. But yeah, just clearing out all the like yeah, no, when I was younger, I just had such self-esteem issues. And like I say younger, but like all through childhood, teens, 20s, 30s, and so it's been on this journey of like learning to accept myself and to love myself and like myself. And the more you do that, I find you want to share it with other
Oh,
people. You want to
yeah.
talk about it and your learnings and stuff. So I kind of see my YouTube as a documentation of my road to self-mastery or evolution.
Yes. Yeah, I feel you. I'm not sure when I decided I wanted to do a podcast. Um, but I knew that I wanted to share some of my journey and share some of the people that were on the journey with me and some of the books and some of the learnings and the thinkings and the things that have helped me. So the podcast really just unfolded. I just knew I wanted to start sharing some of the things that
It's
have
so
helped
great.
me on my journey.
It's so great, and it's a really important principle that when we learn stuff that we share it, that we don't just hoard it for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, and
It's
that's
like
the best way to
really,
learn it, right? Like, look how
yeah.
much you're learning by teaching all of us about these incredible things. So, so how are you coming up with your topics? Or do they just kind of hit you?
I literally have so many ideas. Like I never run out of ideas. Like I started my podcast before my YouTube channel because I knew the leap to YouTube was really big. Like I knew it was going to be incredibly time consuming and I didn't want to wait that long and it may never happen if I waited. So I started with a podcast and I made it short, like inspire in 5, meaning 5 minutes. But in the early days it really was around 10 minutes or so. I did that for like I did that from so I started in the February, and it wasn't until the August that I did my first YouTube video.
Okay,
Um, but I just I never run out of ideas. My frustration is I don't have time to do the ideas that I have, and then the ideas pass, or they're not relevant anymore, or yeah, and yeah, and with YouTube, like I started off doing a lot of walk and talks, and it was easier to upload them like that. But then when I started to be more heavily edited, they take so long, and so then
right.
that delays, and then it's like, well, maybe I should just do more simpler videos and just get them out there and just move on to my next idea. I still don't know, like I'm still finding my way, and of course with the viral video that did really big, it's there was like a whole journey there of like you know, the numbers and the views and stuff and just letting that go and
Yeah.
just, what do I want to talk about and it will land with whoever comes across it kind of thing. Um, yeah, it's definitely been a journey. I think I've just gone in a whole other direction. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Well, and you've got your super fans, and then I wonder about that viral video. How many super fans did you get from that? Or maybe you can tell everybody what happened and maybe that whole journey, because you've had an interesting YouTube monetization journey. And
Yeah.
that's super fascinating to me. And YouTube is darn scary. Like, I didn't publish any videos on YouTube for a while, even though I recorded the video. But I was looking at these videos I did, and I said I said to a friend that I looked like a deer on drugs that was super excited because my eyeballs were like super open and I was just so darn nervous and excited to be talking to this person. I'm like, there is no way I am video worthy or not. I was always video worthy, I think. No way I was ready. And so it took a while and then finally I just got there.
Yeah. That's it though. I love that. I love that so much because we're never going to be ready. We just have to start before we're ready.
Yeah,
But I love it when you look back on, like when I find a new creator that I love, I like to go back to the early videos and see where they started because I just love that journey. I came across someone recently who was really helpful for me to see. She was a yoga teacher and she'd been on YouTube for 6 years and she broke down her journey. And from it, she was like, yeah, basically it was like to get from one stage to the next stage with her YouTube channel took 2 years. And she's
Wow.
like breaking it down, going, you can see the lighting's bad there. You can see I'm so nervous there, and I'm still nervous there, and it's 18 months in. And she's like, and I was like, oh, like, because that viral video it got it's now at 5.3 million views. It's given me like over 140,000 subscribers from the one video alone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just nuts. Like I got my plaque from that video. Like it all just happened really, really quickly. And so of course there was something, it was just, right time, right video, whatever. But every video since, like, it's like the next couple were pretty popular, and then they just come down and they come down and come down, and every time people unsubscribe, unsubscribe, unsubscribe. So it's been a journey, and I get it, because like just the other day I was watching these two guys. They were awesome. They were doing this 30-day challenge where they every day they added a new thing, and like of all the trends, and it was fascinating. And I subscribed, but then I was like, and I looked on their channel to see what else they had. It was all about cars, and I was like, oh, that's not my thing, so I
Right.
unsubscribed. So there's going to be a lot of that. People are going to be
Yeah.
like, oh, I like the video, but I'm not into the rest of the stuff, and that's completely understandable. So I kind of feel like I'm almost back at the beginning, trying to find, like, I've got an audience, but it was like a bit of an illusion. These numbers were in a bit of illusion, so it's been a journey. And yeah, there's been a lot of learning in it for me, for sure.
Right. And especially amazing practice to keep your ego out of the way when you're seeing the numbers go up and when you're seeing them go back down.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and not making it mean things. Like I did at first, like it was a struggle when I was like, oh, um, I was stressed about the numbers, whereas before there was just joy every time.
yeah,
I can see how people that get huge success, if they don't have the right mindset, it's just painful, because you think about what you're losing, and instead of like what you're gaining or what you're
yeah,
sharing, you begin to be like, it's a strange thing. But I definitely think I needed to experience that for my growth,
yeah,
to feel like I'm just now getting back to a place where I'm like, and I can just try things again. Like I see other channels, and I watch, how to grow on YouTube and those kinds of things. And I see these channels where they've got all the same thumbnails, they're all very uniform, they've got their niche sorted, and people know when they go to that channel what they're going to get, and that's what they love, and that helps the channel grow. There's all these, and mine is like all over the place. My thumbnails are all over the place. Like I did one recently about an acting job I had with these Australian comedy people called Auntie Donna, and no one in the rest of the world would really know who they were, and it was probably like putting them on the thumbnail and everything is not going to be appealing for a lot of the rest of the world. And I did it anyway, and it completely tanked as far as my, numbers, but it's just like it was something I wanted to share, this
right,
really fun
right.
experience that I had. And also sometimes I'm slapping these things together late at night because I got to get up for work, and
Yeah,
it is what it is. So when I see creators going, oh yeah, in my second year this happened, in my third year, and I'm like, well, I haven't even made a year yet. I'm like, oh, that, like, I'll be a year in August. So what? I'm still 3 months. Yeah, end of
yeah,
August
it's
28th. I'm 3
amazing.
months away. So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
amazing just to think like what you've done and the kind of content that you've put out. And it's just such authentic, great content that it feels surprising that it's like still been less than a year. And I know, actually, why don't we talk just a little bit about this? Because it takes everything in me not to compare my fledgling YouTube channel to your very successful in my like where I'm at right now
yeah.
YouTube channel. And I know that you've talked about comparison before. Can you share some of your top tips about just this subject?
Of not comparing.
Yeah. And
Mm.
the as pothole of comparison that people can fall into.
Yeah, comparison really is a killjoy. There's nothing good about it unless you're coming from the space of what can I learn from this other channel? What can I learn from that person? But anytime it's like we compare and make ourselves less than, it's just like stabbing yourself, I think.
Mm.
It's so harmful. And we all fall into it, but we hopefully, just like with the pothole thing, we like fall into it less and less and less. And everyone's journey is different. And this is the thing about like reincarnation. Do you believe in reincarnation?
I do. I believe that this is not our only time around.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty darn open. Like the last podcast I just released was with an animal communicator, and I loved it. It was so good. But then before that, I'd been listening to the telepathy tapes, and I heard Dan Gorky talking, and he had telepathy with his wife with Alzheimer's. So I reached out to him to chat, and I find a lot of those things and a lot of things that are kind of paradigm shifting. Thinking for a lot of people is oh yeah, I can imagine that, no problem. But anyway, so long story short, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't always. It was in my 20s that I started to like be okay with late 20s, be okay with the late with the idea of it because I grew up, Christian Catholic, and that's a no-no. But now that I like, for me, there's no doubt. And so we're not all starting from the same place. That really helps me with comparison. So if we have many, many lives and we're here to learn something specific for us, like each life we come in going, like for me, I think this life is really working on my abandonment wound and
Mm.
knowing that I am lovable. Like there's this deep thing that I'm not lovable or love doesn't last. And it's this wound.
Mm.
I think everything is set up for me to learn this lesson in this life. My parents, my environment, my country of birth, all of it, like my gender, all of it set up so that I can learn this lesson. So if this is true, if then we're all starting from different places. Like with actors, some actors just come out and yesterday I saw on like America's Got Talent or England's Got Talent or something, this little girl, she's 10, and she sang this insane opera. Oh, like a grown woman. Her voice was a grown woman. It's like that girl, this is not the first life that she's been an opera singer. Like, so if you were coming in and this was your first life as an opera singer and you compared yourself to her,
Yeah,
you just apples and oranges. Like she could have been like the most masterful opera singer in 1600. It's just like, yeah. So it for me it really helps to go like we're not all starting from the same place. It's like at the Olympics if they scattered the starting blocks around for everyone and expected like you know what I mean? Like
oh
it's
absolutely. And I love that, that was part of my intro, was about how you are just so darn lovable, and that's your core wound. Isn't that hilarious? Well,
yeah,
not hilarious, but it's kind of funny.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank
and
you.
and so so yeah, how are you at receiving compliments and things now? How are you at taking it in? Because I know for years people would give me a compliment, and even now it's tough, and I have to receive it. Actually, I
Yeah,
receive that and thank you, and I'm not always great at it, and I'm trying. How are you
yeah.
doing with the receiving of the compliments?
It really varies. It varies a lot. Like some days I can feel really know my place in the world, feel lovable, feel all this, and then the little the niggling thoughts. But I mean, and I understand about thoughts. They're not real. We have thoughts, we're not our thoughts, and then we're in a sea of energy, and there's like counter intention and all of this stuff. So that's why we have to maintain our practices and our alignments. But it's a work in progress and the gains are small, so
Yeah,
sometimes it's like, oh, how far have I come? But if I only have to put myself in my being from when I was 40 or when I was 35 or oh gosh, when I was like 14. I can step into there and go, oh my God, like I've come from there. Like it's huge gains, like and even
yeah,
from last year I always feel like we should look back on ourselves like 6 months ago or 12 months ago and cringe a little because like just like with love
yeah.
because we hopefully continually growing and loving ourselves more and having a deeper level of acceptance. Yeah. But it's a journey. I have my good days and my bad days.
Right? And I think about anything you do by putting yourself out there, you have to climb Cringe Mountain. And I think it was an Australian woman who talked about that originally. And I had this beautiful colleague of my husband's talk to me about Cringe Mountain, and she's in her early to mid 20s and an engineer, and she's doing so well. She's got a super popular social media presence. She's in this engineering program with his company, and she's really a lovely human. And she was like, well, you have to climb Cringe Mountain. Anytime you stick something out on social media, you have to climb Cringe Mountain. And it's so funny because if you put me into a woman's leadership role, and I'd been doing that, leading like on management teams for the last quite a while, I can coach and lead and support any woman in my team and help her or man on my team, help them over their own cringe mountain or their own things. But doing it for yourself is just a different can of worms.
Yep.
And it's so easy for me to see the brilliance in my colleagues and friends. And colleagues, you could say, well, yeah, you hired them. You hired them for their brilliance. And yes, I did. And it's the easiest thing in the world for me to see their brilliance and to see anything, even if they haven't done the thing they need to do to complete the task, I can still see how brilliant they are and that they'll get there. And giving ourselves that level of grace is a practice.
100%. And I think that's where inner child work is really powerful. Really, really powerful. Like I do this with my clients if appropriate. Like if they bring in their whatever age, 4-year-old self, 8-year-old self, they bring them into the picture. How are they, and how can they speak to that child as versus what they're saying to themselves? It just gives perspective. It's like a pattern interrupt. It's like, well, I am that child. Like I couldn't imagine saying, no one loves you, you're not lovable, like
Yeah.
to this child. I just couldn't imagine. And so, but I'm like, that's me. I am that child. And it just interrupts the pattern enough for that opening for a bit more healing.
Yeah, I've done a lot of the inner child work, and you're right, it is super powerful. I did a 3 hours, 3 session. Um, I don't even know what it was called, but it was intense. And I felt like I had my 8-year-old self come in and connect with me like a freight train. I physically felt her reconnect and thinking of that little girl that I'd abandoned back on the road. And then I was there, I scooped her up, um, and just have now been bringing her on that journey with me. And I continue, which is surprising to me, but I guess the more work I do on this, the more or the less I'll be surprised when something shows up. But my 4-year-old self showed up a while back in an exercise I'd done, and my 6-year-old self just showed up very recently. And it is so powerful to do that work. So
Yeah,
anybody watching, give Maggie a call and do some of that work.
I agree. It is immensely powerful. Like your heart just melts instantly
Right?
when oh, and then you can tell her everything. You can tell her, look how our life worked out. Look at my
Yeah.
husband, or look how it worked out for us. Everything's going to be fine. And that ripples through the timeline back to her. And I've had
Yeah.
experiences where I have memories of feeling like I've had memories of feeling very alone or whatever. And then I'll go have that memory again, but I can almost feel my presence there. And like, because like, the whole time is an illusion and it's all
Well, I
happening
was
now.
going to say that's a whole nother conversation, this conversation about time, which is
Yeah.
just mind blowing. Maybe we'll have to have another one. Maybe we should do another one and invite a quantum physicist into the mix.
That'd be insane. I love it.
But yeah, it is amazing when you think of the work that we do today impacts the past.
Yeah.
And and other work that I've done where people are talking about this not only solves this for you now, it solves this for all generations of women in your past.
Yes, your family.
Yeah,
Every time we heal something within ourselves, our parents are benefiting, our grandparents, our like even if they've passed, like it up and down the line.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit more about that, about your understanding of that? Because I think that's so cool, and I do not have the eloquent words to put to that
I
concept.
I'm not an expert on it either. I just know that when I heal like when I heal unworthiness, that my mum and my dad, they will be healed a little bit by that. And as I continue, they you can see changes in your family from your work on
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
super.
and I've noticed with work that I've done that relationships will substantially change and the other person hasn't changed at all, but because of the work that you've done on yourself, the relationship has completely transformed.
Yeah. It'll transform or it'll end.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and but how much more effective is that? That's why the whole be the change you want to be is so true. Because if you tell people, I want you to change, or, can you do this, can you do that? People are so resistive. But if you just work on yourself, like you said, everything kind of shifts and they
Yeah,
change too. They have to change, otherwise you're not a vibrational match anymore. And then
yeah.
they
Yeah,
disappear.
Gandhi had a thing there, be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah, yeah. Instead of like trying to the face in the mirror, like bringing everything back to us every time. It's like painstaking work, but every time, you get triggered by something or someone bothers you or someone's rude to you, it's just constantly not being a doormat, but bringing back why is that irritating? Rude's probably not a good example, but just anything, any habits of people or behaviors, bringing it back. Why am I irritated right now? Or why am I
Oh,
triggered?
oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And what's even more annoying is when your 14-year-old turns it around on you because he's heard you use it and then he turns it around on you and you're like, fine. All
I
right then.
can imagine. Oh my God, I don't have children, but yeah, that is a whole thing, I'm sure. When as you Gosh, yeah.
Yeah. So now the time has just flown by here, but I wanted to ask you one thing. Actually, I want to ask you a bunch of things, but I'm going to settle with this one thing that came up. Um, And then I wanted to ask you for if you had any words of wisdom to share before we wrap up. But Rachel Platten's, she sings the fight song.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I love a lot of her music. It's very empowering music. And she posted an Instagram video, and I was so surprised to see this video, but I thought it was such timing, like so timely for our conversation because she said that she's 44, I think, and has problems or wants to learn how do you love yourself more. And she's like, sometimes I wonder, should I be doing the Botox? Should I be doing the fillers? Should I be changing the shape of my body? And she said, I'm going to put it out there to all the women. How do I love myself more? And I thought you would do a terrific job of answering this. What are your thoughts?
Pressure.
No
How do I
pressure,
love
no
myself more?
pressure.
Well, it's really interesting that I haven't seen that, but I'm gonna go look it up. It's because the whole Botox and all of that has been a huge, huge journey for me. Like I think one of my wounds was around, being unlovable, and therefore, like in history with women, we're discarded so easily, like so easily. Um, And so from a very young age, I think it was about 18 or 19, I started to get worried that I was aging, like irrational. Like there's no lines on
Wow.
my face. I started to freak out and I would look in the rearview mirror in my car and I'd be like, oh my God. And this just plagued me my whole adult life, like painful. Like I would stay out of the sun, and I in my 30s I started to get Botox. I've had it probably like 6 times in my life, and for some reason they were always a terrible job on me. Like one brow would be frozen and I could raise like terrible. And I spent a lot of money on lasers and all this stuff because I was terrified. But the thing is, the terror comes from I believe, all the past experiences, past lives, of being genuinely discarded because of your, like, attacked because you were beautiful, or discarded because you weren't beautiful, or
Mm,
overlooked, replaced by a younger version, or all of this is in our psyche, it's in the consciousness. And that's why I get so excited when people like Pamela Anderson, um, she's doing the whole no makeup thing,
yeah,
and the people that are choosing to age naturally, um, it's brave work in this time. And I think there will be consequences for people like I'm not bagging the Kardashians, but their influence, like our karma is accrued from the influence that we have. And if we're influencing a whole generation of people to kind of commit violence against their body in some way, and there'll be people that are like, oh, it's so normalized, that the whole Botox thing, it's so normalized. Like whatever makes you feel good, and each to their own. And with my journey with it, initially I decided, if I'm going to really be on the spiritual path and learn to love myself, I can't do that. Like I
mm,
can't. But I was angry about it. And I was angry about all the women that still did it and I couldn't, because I'd made this decision that I couldn't. So
right,
there was that phase. And then now it's just like, it's fine. Like people, like, I don't have judgments about it. But I think it's deeply, deeply sad, and there are consequences to it. And one of the things is us not letting ourselves step into the wise woman archetype.
right.
The crone, or the hag. The hag is like such a bad word these days, but it's like the woman who's like the wise woman in the village that people come to because she's got the answers. But how can you have the answers if you're still trying to look 20 years old? Like
Right.
it just doesn't compute. And I get, being an actor, there's a lot of pressure. But for the ones that just go, I'm not going to give into that, like there's a big place for them. It's difficult for the women that their whole esteem is based on their looks, like they weren't developed in other ways, or that's how people see them. And but it's a journey that we have to go through. um and knowing that our value, it's kind of this beautiful thing in life. Like we have all this youth and this beauty when we're younger, and then as we get older and we age, and we lose those things. But that's when we really come into our true beauty and our true wisdom, and being okay with not needing the attention of men.
Mm,
And like my whole youth, it was like when we went out, like I used to love, as a party animal, if no one tried to pick you up, it was a bad night. Like everything was
mm,
based on how the male gaze and how men saw us, and that's a lot of conditioning as well. So that, like, yeah, it's a big journey. But I think the more of us that, I am going to do a video on that one day. I've kind of been delaying it. It's a big one, like the alcohol was a big one. Um,
yeah,
and but yeah, I think that when I look at older women, because I work with the elderly, I knew that I was getting somewhere when I looked at my own mum. And because when I was younger, I'd be like, oh no, I'm gonna that's gonna happen to me, like, horrible, mean
yeah,
things. Now my mum is so beautiful to me, and she's 77, and she's just like, I think she's so beautiful and completely untouched. It's never been a thing for her to do things to her face. And I'm like, oh, I know I've grown in that area, because I look at her and I just see beauty. And I look at my patients and I can see their beauty. Whereas before I used to just freak out, that's coming for me, I'm gonna look like a shriveled up old prune. Do you know what I mean? And now I'm just like,
yeah,
oh, I can see the beauty and the light in their eyes. And it sounds cliche, but there's a real dark valley to get from where I was to where I am now. And I'm not, like, there's still way more to go, but I feel like I'm over the worst of it, where I don't care if men judge me as unattractive, or, whatever, who cares? I always find it funny when we're like, what do they think of us? When it's like, what do you think of them? Are you,
right,
are you
right,
interested in them? No. So what does it matter? Like,
yeah,
it's just. conditioning, and it's, yeah, so I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but going on the journey and facing it and coming out, you will come out the other side. But yeah, there's a massive plastic surgery issue in the world as the surgeons get more and more skilled. um, I don't have the answer except just go on the journey, because Emma Thompson once, there's this brilliant thing that she said about how um, I am not going to waste my intelligence and my potential and my life caring about my thighs and the shape of my stomach. Like we're so much more, we have so much more to offer than simply that. And if we have partners that are judging that, they're just not, maybe we were, when we were worried about our looks, maybe we were attracting them then, but when you move through it, like my partner is just, I don't think I could have gotten through this without him, because he's just massively celebrated my all natural look for the whole time. I don't know where I'd be. I think he had a profound impact on me being able to get through this journey. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Before I met him, I was, well, before we started dating, I was seriously considering liposuction.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
yeah, I was, it was, I mean, I'm talking like from experience.
Yeah.
And then I knew I'd I'd liked him for like 18 months. We were really good friends before we started going out. And when he asked me out, I instantly knew, this wasn't my first thought, but it was like in the coming day or so, it was like, oh, I've got to cancel that appointment. Like I had the loan and everything. Like I was like, this, he wouldn't tolerate this, because
Right.
it's violence against the body,
Right.
Um, and yeah, I'm so grateful for that. So yeah,
Oh, that's amazing. I can't wait for you to do that podcast or that YouTube video. I
maybe it's
think
coming.
for so many of us, that will be so impactful. I just even remember Oprah talking about aging, and there was only one woman, she said, who acknowledged that she was gorgeous in her younger years when they were having this conversation about aging and looks and the value of themselves after. And it was Sybil Shepherd. And she talked about that, the losing of her looks, I guess, and it's terrible to even say it in that context, but her looks changing over the years as she got older. But being able to just say, yeah, of course, I was gorgeous, and how that had changed, and how that had defined her career as well as an actor, was her looks. And so many people, it is part of their definition of self, and especially in that industry. And
Yeah.
but so many weren't even taking it in when Oprah was saying, oh well, you were, or I don't even know how she phrased it, obviously better than I'm doing, but talked about how in their 30s they were known for their looks, or their 20s, and now they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and they were still not receiving, those compliments from the 20s and 30s. Yeah, it's just so interesting. And she said she had never been known for her looks, and so wasn't particularly concerned about losing them. She was celebrated for being a bookworm and
Yeah.
for other things, and I thought that's really lovely. And so obviously there's stuff there, and I'm thinking the very few women go through life without having that, something around appearance and some feeling of being less than because of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
remember, I think I watched the same thing. She'd spoken to Sharon Stone as well, and Sharon Stone said that she remembered the day that men lost interest in her. She said it was a specific day when she crossed the road, and every time before when she crossed the road, heads would turn, and she crossed the road and no one looked, and she knew that it was the beginning. So sad.
I remember even my mom being aware of guys checking me out when I was younger, and when it
Yeah.
started, and her commenting, it's so strange to see men checking out my daughter. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I always say, even it's so deeply ingrained in us. And I've mentioned this before, but my mom has Alzheimer's now, and I was visiting her one day, and we were like looking at a mirror together, and she looks at me, and she's like, "Who's your mom?" And I'm like, "You're my mom." And she's like, "Huh." And then she looks and she goes, "You are really quite slim." And I was like, how is it that you don't even know who I am, but you remember your lifelong obsession with my weight?
Wow.
And if you were in your right mind, like, or not in your right mind, but if you had all your verbal faculties about you, um, you would not be saying that.
Yeah.
It would be some other comment. But
Wow.
isn't that interesting that it's so ingrained? Just this comment on weight, and yeah, it was such a big thing growing up, this nonstop commentary on female bodies and what they were wearing and everything, but none of that for men.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's so sad. It's really, really
Yeah,
sad.
it's
So distracted and hating ourselves when there's just like imagine all that focus, all that energy if it was just redirected to something positive. I mean, there's nothing we couldn't do.
right, and that's the wonderful thing about getting older, right? Like our perspective shifts, we start just seeing more possibility and more um, just better perspective. And
Yeah.
it's just freeing.
Yeah.
And I hear that this only gets better. So
Yes,
you're in your 40s, I'm in my 50s. By the time we reach our 60s, we're going to be pretty zen.
totally.
So maybe to wrap things up, do you have any final words of wisdom you'd like to share with our listeners today?
Final words of wisdom. I think seriously the most important thing is people to begin, if they haven't already, a love affair with themselves, like the self-discovery, the know thyself, just being curious about all the things, whether they're good or bad, just being curious about what's happening on the inside and connecting with themselves. And in nature is like there's a reason we feel amazing in nature because we're from nature. So literally just being curious about themselves, walking in the forest, and I mean meditation because
Yeah.
that's where we can listen. It can even be a walking meditation, walking in nature, that can be a walking meditation, but just being curious to find out about themselves because I mean and love, like I mean that's where are we leaving more love on the planet or more fear on the planet? So it starts at home, it starts with ourselves. It's a wonderful service. It's a community service to heal ourselves, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I'm thinking that that's really one of the wonderful things coming out of your YouTube and podcasts is helping people heal themselves and then show up as just better, more sparkly humans in the world. And that's a great gift you're giving to people. So thank you so much for doing what you do.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's been so lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, it's been terrific, Maggie. I look forward to watching your future episodes and staying in touch and hearing what you're sharing with the world. So, from all our listeners, thank you so much for today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode with Maggie McCormack. If you would like to reach out to her or just watch some more of her material or listen to any of her podcasts, all her information is in the show notes. And if you liked this podcast, please subscribe, like, follow, do all the things. I love reading your beautiful comments. And I look forward to coming back to you next week with more really interesting and potentially transformational discussions. So have a fabulous week, everyone, and I'll talk to you next Monday. Bye.